Hey guys, what is Topical? Nate here, and today I'm going to be reacting to negative reviews of Adam Driver movies that I love because House of Gucci is about to come out. Before we do that, scroll down to the description box below. You'll find links to all of our social media accounts as well as our Coffee account and our Patreon account, so feel free to check out any of those. But the first movie we have is the absolute hilarious Logan Lucky, and James Mottram from South China's Morning Post gave it a score of 2.5 out of 5, which is in fact a 50%. But he said, only Craig's turn really leaves an impression, and you're left with the feeling that for all its brio, Logan Lucky doesn't amount to a hill of beans, as they say in those parts. And I don't think that I could disagree any more than that, because while Daniel Craig is absolutely hilarious in this movie, so is Adam Driver, and surprisingly, even to me, Channing Tatum, who I do not normally like. Comedies, modern comedies, we don't make them like we used to. We really don't, and very few of them make me actually laugh out loud. Logan Lucky, however, did very much so. I think it's incredibly clever. I think it's really well thought out, and saying that it doesn't amount to a hill of beans is incredibly confusing to me because it is an incredibly interesting plot and also has a fair amount of heart to it as well. So I don't get it. Maybe it's a regional thing. Maybe because I am also from the South, it just makes sense to me. And James Mottram did not get that. Next up, we have the next Adam Driver movie, which is going to be Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. And Pete S., who gave it 2 out of 5 stars, says, while it attempts to be something different in the Star Wars universe are noble, they aren't executed well. Being different and unexpected shouldn't have to mean ruining timeless characters and replacing them with melodramatic, falsely inspired statues like Laura Dern or Kelly Marie Tran. You're sexist. The script doesn't help. At every possible opportunity, the story is forced to be some sort of swelling, dramatic climax. Strange. I think he may have meant change. I don't know. Since it is hard to feel anything given how soulless it turns out to be. Good visuals and acting from Adam Driver. He is correct about that. But overall, it's a bit of a mess. It seemed like it should have ended about 6 times before it did. And it's generally not a good homage to the stories before it. Well, you are correct. It's not a good homage to the stories before it because, like you mentioned previously in your terrible review of this film, it is something very different in the Star Wars universe and something very much so needed as The Mandalorian and other Star Wars content we have gotten since the finale of the Skywalker saga have proven that we need something different that is willing to go outside of the exact same story that we have been telling for 3 straight trilogies. As I briefly mentioned, your comments about Laura Dern and Kelly Marie Tran are absolutely ridiculous because they are both phenomenal actresses in their own right, and their characters in these films are very important. And it sucks that they did not get. Laura Dern character pulls the self-sacrifice thing. Kelly Marie Tran does appear again and is incredibly underutilized in my opinion, which retroactively hurts her in The Last Jedi, but that is not her fault. Melodramatic, falsely inspiring, it doesn't make sense to me. I personally think this is the most inspiring Star Wars movie that exists because it drives home the point of you don't have to be from this really specific lineage to be a hero, and whatever that means for you in your life. It completely subverts the rest of the Star Wars franchise by pointing out the fact that you do not have to be a Skywalker. You don't have to be any of these specific things for you to be what you need to be at that given time. And I love that movie very much for that. It is not perfect, and it has not super great parts of it, but calling it soulless, I think, is the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. Sticking with The Last Jedi, David P., who gave it a 0.5 out of 5, says, as a longtime Star Wars fan, it really is with a heavy heart that I say The Last Jedi is one of the worst films I've ever seen. he needs to watch more movies. Rian Johnson is on record saying the best films are the ones that half the audience likes and the other half hates. Mission accomplished, though he said day, but I think he means I thought I'd say it was more like a 10 out of 90, a 1090 like hate. The film story had no cohesive structure, which is false. It was more like multiple unrelated subplots honed together like a kindergarten level collage. The Last Jedi was a Rian Johnson troll job. And I take offense to that on Rian Johnson's behalf because I know how much that he actually does very much so adore Star Wars. And he tried to do something different and brave, and I think it was a great call. And I found it very engaging. Calling this one of the worst films you have ever seen is absolutely wild to me. I understand that obviously everything Star Wars that came before The Last Jedi was probably something very important to you and something that you use to make part of your identity in one sense or another, and I think that that's fine. But again, just because someone was brave enough to try to do something different does not mean that it sucks. It just means that you don't like it. And your assessment of the like to hate being 10% to 90% is very wrong. Because thankfully I know a lot of people that either do really like this movie or are just meh about it, which you can just be neutral about something. You don't have to all the way hate it or all the way like it. Personally, I love it. It's in my top 5 favorite Star Wars movies. Saying that it has no cohesive structure and it was just multiple unrelated subplots is stupid because although it does have one too many subplots, I'm not above admitting that, they are still in one way or another ultimately tied to the ultimate main plot of the story, which is arguably the most cohesive plot out of any Star Wars movie. And that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me that was your assessment, and can only assume that you just didn't like it because it wasn't what you wanted. And finally, our last Adam Driver movie, we have A Marriage Story. And Brandy McDonnell, who gave it a 2.5 out of 4, which is a weird scale, said, Baumbach deserves kudos for highlighting the adversarial nature of divorce court, but his odd storytelling decisions too often undercut the human dynamics he's trying to explore. And this one is particularly interesting to me because I am curious as to whether or not she has ever seen another Noah Baumbach movie, because in terms of his storytelling style, this is maybe his most like straightforward and not like intentionally creative movie. It is very straightforward. So I just think that Brandy McDonnell is a boring person and doesn't like any film that is even remotely creative or daring. And A Marriage Story is one of, in terms of the script, is one of the most honestly and realistic written relationship movies that I've ever seen. It is absolutely heartbreaking. It is hard to watch. I personally am someone who has always been a huge fan of love and never shied away from that. And watching this movie even made me slightly terrified to consider getting married, even though I know that that's still something that I want. So I would say that his storytelling evokes an immense amount of emotion, and I don't fully understand exactly why anyone other than just an incredibly boring person would say that his storytelling decisions undercut the human dynamics he's trying to explore, because I find that they only enhance them. But that's how I feel about it. Let me know how you feel down in the comment section below. Scroll back up, hit the like button, and subscribe.
It's not a game, it's a